Today we will discuss different modes of DMA data transfer. The actual data transfer process remains the same in all modes. They just vary by how DMA controller determines when to transfer data. So first is demand or burst mode transfer. In this mode, entire block of data is transferred in one continuous sequence. So firstly, DMA will request for control of system buses. For that, it will send hold signal to the microprocessor and wait for hold acknowledge signal. After receiving hold acknowledge signal, this DMA controller will gain control of system buses, and then it will go on executing a DMA cycle for transferring 1 byte of data. So here two things will happen. First, it will increment memory address present in address register after transferring 1 byte, and then it will decrement counter present in terminal count register. Then it will check is peripheral ready. So it will check whether peripheral is ready to send data or not. Now how will it do so? So for every byte transfer, IO device needs to assert DMA request signal. This means a high signal level is need to be given to DRQ line to indicate that peripheral is ready with the next byte. If yes, then only it will go on transferring next byte. In this way, it will go on transferring all data bytes between memory and IO device. After transferring all data bytes, the DMA controller will enter into slave mode and it will leave control of buses. So in other words, in this demand or burst mode, data is transferred till the peripheral is ready. And for this, IO device will assert DMA request, which means DMA request line is kept high for every byte transfer as long as this transfer is taking place. But if the peripheral is not ready, that means when DMA request line is not kept high by the IO device, then all transfers are stopped and DMA control enters into slave mode. It will relinquish control of buses to microprocessor. Now coming to next mode of transfer, which is block or continuous mode transfer. This is very similar to the earlier method. In this mode also, DMA requests for control of buses. Then after getting control, it goes on to transfer first byte. If peripheral is ready, it will go on transfer rest of the bytes. But if peripheral is not ready, since normally speed of peripheral is slower than CPU, so DMA controller will not enter into slave mode as was in case of demand mode transfer. Rather, it will keep on waiting for the peripheral to get ready to send data. So in this mode, bus control is not handed over to the microprocessor until the entire block of data has been transferred. So here DMA request line need not be raised high every time a byte is transferred, as well as in case of demand mode, it has to be initiated only once. So both these modes are useful for loading programs or data files into memory, but they keep CPU idle for relatively long period of time, as CPU cannot perform those tasks which requires buses, as buses are in control of DMA till complete data transfer has taken place. So next mode is your single byte or cycle stealing mode. In this mode, only 1 byte of data is transferred at a time. In this mode also, the DMA controller will request for control of system buses from the microprocessor. So after gaining control of the system bus, it will go on transferring first byte. After transferring 1 byte, this DMA controller will again enter into slave mode by handing over the buses to the microprocessor. After gaining control of the buses, the microprocessor will execute its next machine cycle. If data is still left to be transferred from the device, that means if the peripheral is still ready with the data, then DMA controller will again send request to the CPU or microprocessor for gaining control of system buses, and then it will transfer next byte of data. So therefore in this method, the DMA controller transfers one word at a time, after which it must return the control of the buses to the CPU. Hence you can see this type of DMA is slower than demand and block mode DMA. But here CPU is not idle for long period of time, as your DMA controller is giving control of buses to the microprocessor after every byte transfer, and CPU just uses one memory cycle for this data transfer. In rest of the cycles, it can execute its instructions. Therefore, this method is called cycle stealing, as CPU's one memory cycle has been used for transferring 1 byte of data. Next is your transparent or hidden DMA mode. In this mode, DMA controller only transfers data when CPU is performing operations that do not use system buses. So in this mode, a logic must be designed that will determine those states wherein CPU is not performing operations that are using system buses, so that CPU's execution speed is not affected by DMA transfer. So its advantage is CPU never stops executing its program. Disadvantage is hardware needed to determine when the CPU is not using the system buses can be quite complex and relatively expensive. So it requires highest time to transfer a block of data as compared to previous modes, and therefore this is the slowest DMA transfer. Next is your cascade mode. DMA channels can be expanded using this mode. As you know, your DMA controller has 4 channels. That means 4 IO devices can be connected together. But if you want number of channels to be greater than 4, that means you want to connect more number of devices, then you can cascade DMA controller in this way. In this example, you can see 2 DMA controller are cascaded to the first level DMA controller. So this is 2-level DMA system. First level DMA system will be called master device, while second level DMA system will be called slaves. And more levels can be added simply by cascading DMAs to channels of preceding levels. So in this, the HRQ signal, hold request signal, and hold acknowledge signals from second level DMA controller are connected to the D request and D acknowledge signal of the first level DMA controller, that is the master device. And the hold request and hold acknowledge line of master device is connected to the microprocessor.